That's super cool. Mine was Britney Spears, and I don't know how my mom didn't know what she knows now about
That
me.
you're and if you put on the song 22 by Taylor Swift, you will get an entire concert from those two.
You wore a shirt that says "World's Okayest Bassist." What are you today?
It's just gonna say I got worse.
It's
Yeah,
Taylor
so
Swift, dude. It's Taylor Swift. She heard what you said.
I didn't think that was possible. I already said I'm Irish and German. How much more white can you get than that? If I look at a picture of the sun, I get a sunburn. What are you doing?
Jag off.
Go practice your Brody.
They're just fucking random, okay?
All right. That's my life. Let's go.
Welcome to Unshut, a place where if at any point you feel like you need to shut the up, don't.
Hey, can you hear me? There we go.
What's going on?
I could not get any of the video or the mic to start working there for a minute. So it was like trying to figure out what was going on. And there was like one little dialogue window that was like kind of blending in with everything that was keeping me from doing anything. So
Well, I definitely didn't want to offer any help because I wouldn't have been any good help and my age would have started to show. So
mine too. I was like, oh, what the hell?
awesome. Well, I mean, I think it sounds pretty good now. I'm ready to start if you are.
Yeah, let's do it. Actually, I forgot that. Is it video only or is it audio and video?
It's video and
Okay.
audio.
All right. Let me if that's the case, let me move the mic so it's not directly in front of my face. Can you still hear me all right?
Oh, yeah.
All right, good. Yeah, I got this sweet little condenser mic for like $30 from Walmart. It's like served me well so many times since I got it.
It sounds really good. And now we can see the moneymaker, so I think we're good.
Awesome.
Before we start, Deon, I want to ask you, how do you pronounce your last name? Because I am notoriously known for butchering them all.
It's 100% phonetic. So just exactly the way it looks is the way you say it. Rexroat.
Say it again?
Rexroat.
Rexroat. That is such a
Yeah.
badass last name. Where does it come from?
I think it's like originally like Austro-German. I think it's rooted in Austrian, but yeah, like Austrian Germany. I guess that's the roots of my family on my father's side. So yeah.
Very cool. Have you ever done a 29 and Me or whatever those are called, like to know the
Oh, the
history of it?
23andMe?
Yeah.
No, I've always been interested. I would be surprised if it's anything but Irish and German, like on either side of the family, because that seems to be had a family member do a family tree years ago, and like all the roots were just it was either like somewhere down the line there was just a bunch of Irish and German people that kept marrying each other, and then our families got together. So,
Any musicians on your side of the family?
oh yeah, my actually the way I started playing music was my dad was a drummer. So when my brother and I were younger, he bought a drum set just for fun to do like a neighborhood party with some of the other dads. There was a dad that was a bass player and a dad that played guitar and sang, and they were doing this kind of like end of the year party for a baseball team. I don't remember if it was my team or my brother's team. I think it was my team, and my parents hosted it at our house. So the dads got together. My dad went to a local music shop and bought this used Slingerland like gold sparkle drum kit to just they were just gonna basically jam all night and play a bunch of covers and everything, and entertain the parents while the kids ran wild around the house. And then after the party, he just kept it, and my brother and I would bang around on it. And eventually, my brother really took to playing. He was older than me. He wouldn't ever let me play. So I decided I needed to play another instrument. And I just ended up playing bass. Our next door neighbor had a couple guitars and a bass, and he let me play around on his bass, and I just really enjoyed the instrument, thought it was a cool sound, and kind of got attached to it immediately. I always wanted to be a guitar player, but I just ended up playing bass, sticking with it, and really honing in on that instrument. Still can't play guitar to save my life. So
Well, what a cool full circle moment, though, because now you're a dad and still a musician. So I feel like that's such a cool full circle moment with the history of your dad being a drummer. That's so badass.
yeah, yeah, he still has a drum set to this day. He still plays as much as he can. As he's getting older, he plays whenever he can, and whenever the mood strikes him to like set it up. But it usually lives kind of in like a broke down state, put away in its cases. But he's been retired for a few years, so he kind of just does whatever he wants. Every now and then, be like, "Oh, I set up the drums today and played for a little while." But yeah, it is fun. I think I mean, obviously, I think music is a very important thing. It speaks to people in every language. It's such a big part of my life and has been. I mean, even before I started playing, I was just always drawn. There was always music playing at our house when I was growing up, or when you're in the, car driving with your parents, there's just always music playing. And I was lucky to have parents with what I thought was good musical taste, So I grew up listening to bands like ZZ Top and Bruce Springsteen and George Thorogood, and even like some good jazz stuff like Buddy Rich and, Gene Krupa. I feel like I'm just naturally like always thinking about music and have as long as I can remember. So it's rad to had been in a situation where that was nurtured and encouraged by, my parents. And so I've had friends that they want to play music, but their parents are like, "Oh, that's cool. That's a fun little hobby, but now you're going to go to college and, blah, 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 get a real job." It's a fun little hobby, but it's something you do when you're younger. So yeah, it's rad. I share it with my two daughters as much as I can, and just if I'm practicing and one of them comes up and interrupts me, I don't get mad. I give the pick to them and let them play around on the bass, and I want them to have the same memories that I had. It's just being supportive and just understanding that music is such an important thing in life.
I love that so much. Do you see yourself in your dad when it comes to being his age down the line and still pulling out your bass to play it?
I would hope so. I mean, I've often thought about it. I mean, people laugh when I say it, but I never thought Anberlin would get to a second album, let alone a seventh or an eighth album or ninth album. So it's continually awesome to me, and I'm forever grateful that I'm still playing music with a band for this long and enjoying it. But there probably will come a day where I won't be in a band anymore, or at least it won't be like a band like Anberlin. Maybe I'll just be like jamming with some local musicians or something. But I would hope that I would always continue playing for the love of it, because that's why I started in the first place, and I still do love it to this day. And I mean, one of the more sad things I ever heard in my life was when the Ramones broke up. Johnny Ramone did an interview and he said, "We played our last tour. When that last show was done, I put my guitar up and I never touched it again." And I thought that was just such a kind of depressing thing, especially coming from somebody that was such an influential musician. So, but I guess that, it's to each their own, whatever relationship that individual has with their instrument. And who knows, maybe you can have too much of a good thing. And, maybe he was just really tired of playing guitar. I don't know, but I would hope that it's something that I do and I enjoy, and until I die. I mean, it really does bring me joy and always has.
No, and I think that that maybe has a lot to do with why there's so much longevity in what you've done. Something you said a minute ago that I think was just so inspiring and so refreshing to hear was hearing you talk about how when your girls come in and interrupt you, it's such a welcoming feeling to know that, dad obviously takes this seriously because look what you've created with this, right? I mean, here you are, however many years, I think it was since what, 2002, if not earlier. And for them to come into this environment where it's so welcoming, you're leaving that impression to them. And I think that's where this longevity is coming from. So I think that's super cool.
Right. Yeah. It's a cliche thing, and we've said it. The moment we don't enjoy it anymore, we'd rather just stop. As you know, I mean, we did stop briefly for a time after 2014. We stopped touring, we stopped writing music and everything, and we thought we were done because we got to a point with each other personally where being Amberlin and being this group of guys was almost more of a strain and a stress, it felt like, on our lives. We were kind of fractured as a brotherhood. And so we felt that it was better to stop before we ruined any personal relationships or anything, within and with, and on the outside of the band. And that obviously didn't last long. 4.5 years later, we came back and, we continued, picked up as if nothing had happened. And, I think we were stronger for it. But, it very much is, like I said, it's something that I enjoy so much, and I hope that I always do. And I hope that not just my girls, but anybody that sees me doing this, sees how much I enjoy it, and I hope that that helps them enjoy it more, or, brings them a little bit of happiness, just seeing that you can do what you want and you can enjoy it and be happy doing it. I think I answered your question. I might have got off on a little bit of a tangent there.
No, I think that's what we're both doing right now, Deon. This is what I love about these conversations the most, because even though I have a list of questions, which we will get to some of them here in a little bit, I think that there is so much beauty and you never know what you're going to get until you start to talk to that person. And something that you talked about here that I feel so so grateful about is even just the openness and the transparency in the fact that the Brotherhood did get a little bit broken, because I think there's this misconception that bands that last so many years, they're picture perfect. They don't have any issues. That's why they've lasted. But I think there's so much beauty in the fact that you said that the Brotherhood was a little bit broken, but the fact that you were able to pick it back up, it's so much more profound. And I appreciate that so much. So your tangent is good.
Great. Yeah.
I
I
want to
mean,
go back a little bit to 2002 is when Anberlin was formed, correct?
yes. I mean, I would say officially formed. Yeah. I mean, I think the ideas and the stirrings probably started in the previous year, but 2002 is what we mark as the official year where we named the band and, we recorded our first demos and everything.
Would you say that part of this coming back to life moment, right, after taking some time apart, would you say that part of it came from being able to reconnect with everyone and being able to say, holy shit, we've done this? Like being able to look back, because even then, when you guys, I think, went apart was what, 2014, right?
Yeah, 2014, beginning of 2014 is when we announced that that would be our last year as a band and that we would be splitting up at the end of the year. Yeah.
And so even then you add on another few years before you guys make this comeback. And it's like, was that a part of what helped this fracture, right? Being able to look back and say, you know what? Looking past all the bullshit, look what we fucking done. Like, look and look for how many years we did it for.
Yeah, I think I mean for us we had already started in kind of middle of the year 2018. We started reconnecting and I hadn't talked to Steven in a while and he just called me out of the blue one day and we just had this great kind of quick 20-30 minute conversation and we kind of acknowledged some things from the past and things like that, stuff that we had just kind of ignored for a few years. Next thing I knew, we were all having these conversations of like, why don't we get together? Why don't we just sit in a room together and talk? And we haven't been in a room together since December of 2014. Like not all five of us, anyways. Or November 2014 was the last show at that time. So we said, let's get in the room, let's talk. And as we started talking, we're just like, you know what? It just would be really rad to just do this again and do it on our terms and take the pressure off of record labels and radio singles and you know all that stuff that kind of overshadowed what we were doing and really put that pressure on us and let's just do it and if it we'll play some shows and if that's all we do, that's all we do. If we keep going, we keep going, who cares? And so we did that and we planned to do a show at the end of the year and then we ended up our good buddies in Under Oath. That's essentially family at this point. We've known the guys for so long, and Tim from Under Oath and Nate, our drummer, are brothers-in-law. So very intertwined, like just Florida scene family. They asked us to play their final show, their hometown show of their tour that year. So we were like, yeah, that would be cool. So when we got together and started rehearsing for that, and we actually got in a room with instruments and we started playing these songs, the feeling was incredible. And after that much time, we definitely, to answer your question, we gained a whole new perspective about the whole thing of, this is something that we enjoyed and we were able to do for 12 years before we called it quits. And to see the reaction of people when we announced we were coming back just encouraged us so much. Getting in the room, playing those songs and knowing that we were going to be playing those songs for people that had waited years to hear them again and didn't think they were ever going to hear them again. It was just awesome. It was a great feeling. And I think that was a big part of why we kept going after that show is because it was undeniable that the five of us, we made a band in the first place for a reason. We remained a band for as long as we did for a reason. It's because we were essentially brothers and we enjoyed the thing that we created together. And here we are all these 6 years later and we're still doing it. I'm thankful for it. If you talk to any of the guys, we're going to say we're thankful, and as long as we can do it, as long as our fans will want us and allow us to do this, we will do it because it's what we know, it's what we love, and we enjoy the the happiness that it brings other people, and it brings us happiness seeing people enjoy this thing.
Hell yeah, I love that so much. And just so you know, this is exactly why I love connecting with people who have been doing this for so long, because you'll also get to see here in a little bit how I feel like, all the press tours and the labels and all of the things that come with this industry, it's so important to be able to shoot the shit and to take that pressure off. And that's what I have set kind of like, the standard with doing interviews. Of course, I want to talk a little bit about your band, but you'll see here in a little bit why we shoot the shit and why we like to take that pressure off specifically for, guys like you who have been doing this for so fucking long. And I mean, unfortunately, I know, for me who I was in the industry doing choreography for 15 years, I don't want to sit in an interview and talk about what was your best favorite piece. It's like answering those questions, they really do add on to the pressure of what takes away the fun. So we are going to be shooting the shit a little bit, Dion. So hopefully I don't scare you off, but we are going to
Oh,
shoot the
bring it
shit.
on. I love, answering the same question over and over again. You get practiced and like, what's your favorite song to play? Oh, Feel Good Drag. Why? Because the crowd reaction is so great every night. Okay, is there a song you're sick of? No. It's like everybody asks the same questions, and that's not a bad thing. Every publication is going to reach a different person. It's refreshing when you get asked different questions and you get to approach things from a different angle for sure.
Oh, for sure. And it's also about getting to know the artist behind the artistry and far beyond the artistry. So, the last question I have for you before we really go into shooting this shit together, Dion, how did Maddie of Memphis Mayfire coming on to take on this role? How did that come about? I know he did a show with you guys in Dallas, I believe. I know there was some connection there, but how did that come about?
So we had a meeting as a band in 2022, and we kind of had this revelation as we were talking to Steven that Steven was not going to have much to do with touring anymore. He was happy in his home life and wasn't looking to tour as much anymore. And we walked away from the meeting basically saying like we're probably done after next year. Like we're just gonna hang it up. If Steven's not gonna be able to tour, like what are we gonna do? Play one show here or there? What's the future hold for us if we don't have a singer? And then it was actually Steven who came to us and said, "What if you guys did it with a different singer?" And at first we were all apprehensive, like, "No, that doesn't work. What are we gonna, like, so what, people just are constantly just going to say like, oh, it's not the same, it's not the same. But then we started thinking about like, but what if we just try it? Like, what's the harm in trying it? And he threw out a couple of names of people that he was either friends or acquaintances with that he respected and he thought would be able to carry the load and sing his parts. And Maddie was one of those names. And all of us were just kind of like, huh, that's an interesting one because Maddie is kind of a outside of Memphis Mayfire, he's kind of a brand into his own already. And I was like, you know what? If it was going to work, it seems like it would work best with someone like that, someone that's already a familiar face to a lot of people. And as much as we are different from Memphis Mayfire, I think scene wise, there's a lot of crossover between where our bands came from. You know what I mean? Like back in the early and mid 2000s, you could easily see Anberlin and Memphis Mayfire touring together. That was the whole ethos behind Warped Tour. It didn't matter if it was like if all the bands sounded the same, if they were the same genre. It was just cool because people like different music. They don't have to go to a show and see only the same music. So we started talking about it, and we're like, this is kind of a thing, and so we spoke to Maddie, and we already knew that he was kind of into it because Steven had kind of like threw the idea out there to the couple of the guys that he had in mind, and Maddie was into it. And not only was Maddie into it, we found out through talking to Maddie that he was a massive Anberlin fan already, and there's a great picture of him that he sent us, which I think he actually posted online at one point, of him in like his 10th grade year, sophomore year of high school. It was like a yearbook picture is him wearing an Anberlin shirt. And like,
Stop.
yeah, so it was just like to us, it was like, you know what? if we are gonna try it, this is all just lining up too well. Like not only does the guy have a great voice, not only is he like already like a kind of like a recognized person within our world, our realm of music, but the dude is already just like kind of like what you think of as like, you know, the movie Rockstar with Mark Wahlberg. Sorry, Mark Wahlberg. I didn't mean to call you Marky Mark there. I know you hate that. But say hi to your mother for me. But the story was there for us. It's just like how cool is that this guy wow, this sundown right now is just really
You're
coming
getting
across my
wider and
face.
wider as this interview goes. It's just wider and wider.
I didn't think that was possible. I already said I'm Irish and German. How much more white can you get than that? If I look at a picture of the sun, I get a sunburn. So there was already this, everything just kind of seemed to be lining up. And to us, there were just the signs of, you know what, this could work. And worst case scenario, we can at least say we tried. You know what I mean? Because what do we do? Just we go away again and we just never make music again as Anberlin, like, you know, or what do we do? Go back and then a few years later, Steven says, "Hey guys, I can tour again." And it's like then we come back and everybody just thinks we're a joke because we just, oh, what are they gonna do? Break up a third time? You know? So I don't know. To us, we approached it with the same thing we have almost our entire career of like, why not just try? Why not just give this a shot? We already knew that he was going to be stepping into Steven's spot before we did that Dallas show on the Yellow Card tour. So it kind of was like a perfect thing of like, we almost had to cancel the show because Steven couldn't make it. And then we were kind of like, well, why don't we just see if Maddie's off tour? Why don't we just see if he can hop in real quick? And because we were playing a pretty brief set, I think we were only playing like 7 songs a night or 8 songs a night. So it's like, you know, if the guy's a real fan, he'll know the songs, right? So we did it and it was great. And you know, as far as we could tell, it was kind of like a cold open for us, you know, or a soft open. It was a way of introducing Amberlin with a different singer. And from what we could tell and all the feedback online and people that were at the show, everybody enjoyed it. Everybody thought it sounded great. So that gave us a little bit of a we could take a breath and just like exhale and say like, oh man, okay, this might just work. The let's give it a shot angle might actually work out. So yeah, so Maddie's our guy. He's gonna be starting tour with us end of June in Salt Lake City. We're doing the 20 years of Tears tour and there is for lovers, and we're really excited. It's the longest tour we've done since 2014. It's pretty rad. It's been a bit of a shock for I think our families because up until now we've only left for a few weeks at a time, and this tour is 30 something shows. So
Yeah, it's going to
it's
be a lengthy one for sure.
yeah, we're excited though. I mean, getting back to doing what we absolutely love. Okay, now that we may have to do a edit real quick so I can change my position. What you just want like a lens flare off of this microphone. Yeah, we're getting back to doing what we love, and you know, traveling was such a big part of all of our youths because of how young we were when we started this band. So it's going to be a long tour and it's going to be rad, and we just feel like all the pieces are there. You know, if it couldn't be Steven, we're happy it's someone like Matty, and he's such a solid individual. From the moment he walked into the room in Dallas the night before the show, and we hugged and said, "What's up?" and it was the first time I had ever met him in person, and it was like I had known the guy for years already. He's just that type of person, you know. He's like everybody's best friend, you know. He's just such a big and nice personality. So like I said, if it wasn't going to be Steven, I'm glad it's someone like Matty. He's going to be filling that role of lead singer very nicely, and we're super excited about it. We really hope that everybody else is too.
Oh, I think it's going to be received just perfect. And I think it's going to be just so badass. And shout out to Maddie for stepping in. I think it's the coolest thing ever. So I definitely did want a little bit of a backstory on how that came about. So I love that. To move on and get off subject a little bit, something I want to do with you, Deon, is I want to do an Instagram deep dive with you. So I'm going to be asking you some somewhat rapid questions about Instagram.
Like just as a format or or my actual Instagram.
Your actual Instagram.
All right. That I might have better answers to because I don't understand social media algorithms to save my life. So,
Keep in mind, they're just fucking random, okay?
all right. That's my life. Let's go.
All right, let's do it then. You posted a picture about buying new Doc Martens. How long did the first pair last?
The pair that those replaced I got on that final tour we did in 2014. So, and I just bought that pair in 2022. So they lasted 8 years, which I could have got a few more miles out of them, but the leather on the upper boot was so stretched out that I couldn't tighten them enough anymore. I mean, it was just, they were so worn out because I wear four kinds of shoes. I wear Doc Martens, 8-eye lace-up boots. I wear Doc Martens, the 1461 Oxfords. I wear All Stars, Converse All Stars, Chucks, and I wear traditional Vans. Yeah, that's it. That's like my four shoes I wear like all the time. So as you can imagine, there were a lot of miles on the 8-year-old pair of Doc Martens, and I could have got a few more miles out of them, but they just did not fit anymore. They were so stretched out, they were so worn out, and they are in Doc Marten heaven now. I donated them, so hopefully somebody got some good use out of them.
Yeah, that's the best part about Doc Martens. They literally do last forever. And
Oh
even when
yeah,
they're done, you can still get them. They're vintage, they're amazing. So that's awesome.
yeah.
You posted about some of your favorite spots in Australia and sharing them with your wife. I know they're young, but will your girls ever join you at any show in the future?
In Australia or just in general?
Just in general.
Oh, my 7-year-old, well, she was 6 last year. She actually came out for 5 of the shows that we did with Yellow Card on the Yellow Card tour. She rode the bus. She slept in a bunk every night. She was a total trooper. I think she got spoiled because she goes to a show from here on out. She's gonna be like, "Why can't I go backstage and eat catering?" Like, But yeah, she had a blast. She loved every second of it. And then our youngest. She came to her first show in December of last year. We did those the holiday shows in our hometown of Tampa Bay. One of the nights, she and her sister both came, and she got to see a full show for the most part. She fell asleep probably halfway through because she's only 3, so give her a break. So yeah, so they've been to shows and they've been around and seen, they've come to sound checks in the past and stuff. So they've seen what I do and how crazy dad is and everything. So, but they enjoy it. They love it.
I love it. Which one of the two can you see pursuing something like music?
Both of them. They're, as you can imagine, because who's bigger right now, but they're huge Taylor Swift fans. And if you put on the song 22 by Taylor Swift, you will get an entire concert from those two. I mean, there's choreography involved, even the 3-year-old. Like she's got this like choreography that she does with all these hand movements. It's hilarious and I love it. I'm not a Taylor Swift fan by any means, but you know what? I'm sure my parents weren't no effects fans when I was growing up. So we'll write that one off. But I can see both of them getting into music and everything and, doing something like that. My oldest actually has a guitar that she's finally growing into it. So she's going to start taking lessons from Christian, actually, our Anberlin guitarist, who she calls Uncle Christian because we're all a close knit family here.
I love that. I love that. You posted your crossed fingers tattoo. Any other Anberlin related tattoos that we don't know about?
It might be, I don't know if you can see it, but so I've got the crossed keys here that are the single key is from our B-sides record we put out called Lost Songs. A few of us have, I think all of us do at this point. We all have the cross fingers somewhere, and then we all have the Lost Songs key. So that's my other Amberlin tattoo.
Are you all
And then
tattooed out for now?
no. Actually, we were driving back from dinner last night, and we drove by
It's kind of staticky again, Deon. Are you there?
oh, how's that?
It's almost there. It's just very staticky.
Hello?
There you are.
All right. Yeah, I think there's something going on with the USB and
It's
yeah,
Taylor
so
Swift, dude. It's Taylor Swift. She heard what you said, and she's like,
she
I'm
heard
coming
it.
in.
So yeah, we were driving home the other night and my wife looked it up and it's a tattoo shop that specializes in fine line artwork, which is something I kind of lean more towards. I don't have a lot of color in any of my tattoos. I'm pretty much all black line work and shading. So I was like, oh, that's cool. And immediately my mind was just like, all right, what am I getting? So no, not tattooed out at all. Just getting started. I got this one. It's upside down because it's kind of hard to show a forearm tattoo. But I got this Rebellion Fulcrum logo tattoo on tour last year with Yellow Card. There was an artist on one of the days of the tour. I let my daughter pick it out, and I'm a huge Star Wars fan, and by extension now she is too. So I sent her a few different images, and she immediately picked this Rebellion Fulcrum kind of combined logo. So not even a year over the last time I got a tattoo. So I'm already going to get another one soon.
That is the coolest thing ever to let her pick. I love that. You posted a picture of a dog sticking its head out the window at a drive-through, and you captioned it with a TLC No Scrubs lyrics. What's a song today you could convert into a rock song if you could?
I would say they're probably, and we've done it a few times in Amberlin because of this. There are songs that, are maybe, more synth heavy, like, because we've covered a few things, like we've covered songs from Depeche Mode and New Order and The Cure and things like that. So I would say maybe the equivalent would be maybe to do a 1975 song a little more rock, than I don't know, because they're still kind of a bit rock. Maybe it'd be cool to cover like a Hosier song or something that he's got really rad songs. We just found out recently that Teddy Swims is a huge Acceptance fan, which was the band Christian was in before Amberlin. So I don't know, maybe we could just mess with Teddy Swims and cover a Teddy Swims song in a style of Amberlin.
Hey, that would actually be fucking dope. I'm not going to ask your daughters this question because they're going to say, Dad, do 22 by Taylor Swift.
Well, yeah, pretty much.
Since we just talked about TLC, you posted about Little Five Pizza in Atlanta. What was it about this pizza that had you going back so much? Do you know what place I'm talking about?
Oh, Little Five Points Pizza, yeah.
Yeah.
So the studio where we recorded our first demos and we recorded quite a few things over the course of our early years was a studio run by a great producer and engineer named Matt Goldman. It's called Glow in the Dark Studios, and it was in Little Five Points there in Atlanta when we were just recording our first Amerlin demos. We were living in his studio. I think we went for like a long weekend from like a Friday to a Monday, basically, and we recorded 5 songs in that time. And we didn't have a lot of money because we were paying for the recording ourselves. So we were just living off this, pizza by the slice, or just putting our money together and just getting a whole pizza and splitting it. In addition to it being great pizza, it also just holds such a special place in our hearts because we literally lived off their pizza for a good amount of time of our early career. And anytime we went back to that studio, his studio moved to a different location briefly, and then he moved back to Little Five Points. So it holds a very special place in our hearts. It was sustenance for us while we were creating this thing that became Amberlin, essentially.
That's awesome. I know you also posted about how you bought the Mighty Mighty Boss Jones CD in 1994. What was the first album you ever owned?
ZZ Top Eliminator is the first album I ever owned that I mean, maybe my parents gave me the money to buy it, but it's the first album that I remember being my album. Not necessarily age appropriate when I think about it now, when I look at the lyrics, but for like, I think I was maybe 5 or 6 whenever I got it. And they're still, I mean, ZZ Top, they're legends. They're still one of my favorite bands. But yeah, that ZZ Top Eliminator was my first album I think that I ever owned.
That's super cool. Mine was Britney Spears, and I don't know how my mom didn't know what she knows now about me. So,
That you're a choreographer?
exactly, Dion. I will say this on record. That's the first time anyone's ever caught me off guard like that before. No one ever does it back. So I love it. You're
Well, you have
approved.
never been in a room with Amberlyn before. You have to be quick when, especially with our guitarist Joey is one of the quickest witted people you will ever meet. So if you're gonna exist in like a band with him for 20 plus years, like you have to be able to like keep pace with him, or you're just gonna get lost. You're gonna get left in the dust. So when you get the 5 of us together, or the 4 of us, or 3 of us, or 2 of us, if you get any of us together, any amount of members, I mean, it's what we do. It's just we riff off each other, and we just we go go go. I would say it's a pretty great metaphor for how we function as a band. We have such a good rhythm with each other, personality wise, humor wise, conversationally, everything. So it kind of makes sense if you're in a room with us to say like, oh, well, of course these guys are, play well together, because just listen to the way they talk with each other. And it's rapid fire. You got to be on top of your game, or you will get left in the dust if you're around the group of us. So you're welcome.
I love it. You posted a picture where you cut your own hair. In your best impression, what would your wife say if she walked in and saw that you cut your girl's hair?
Oh God. I think it would just be an immediate, what are you doing? But I would like to think that if I did cut my girl's hair, I would do a pretty good job. I cut my own hair so much when I was younger. I grew up in a small town and I kind of just felt like, I maybe knew what I wanted more than, hairstylists or barbers and did in a small town. And I had a pair of wall clippers and scissors and I would just cut my hair. And then that would lead to me cutting Joey's hair, cutting, other people's hair. And so I actually got pretty good there for a while, cutting guy's hair anyway. So I would like to think that I would kind of do a good job if I did have to cut my girl's hair. But my girls both have incredibly beautiful blonde hair, so I would not want to cut any bit of it.
Yeah, your wife is probably going to listen to this and cringe the entire time to this answer. She's going to be like, don't fucking dare.
She'll
Um,
probably be laughing, but just giving me this like side eye, like, I'm gonna kill you. Don't ever do it.
inspired by some nicknames you've been given based on a post, I'm going to give you five nicknames and I want you to assign them to a band member. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
And I want to know if you pick up on what post this was. The first one, Nip Flick.
Nip flick. Would that be Christian?
You're assigning them, so I can't tell you.
Oh, okay. Nip flick. I'm gonna go with Christian, maybe.
Perfect. Cheetalicious.
Cheetalicious. Let's go with Nathan.
Jagoff.
Jagoff. Joey.
Taint King.
Christian.
And Assface.
Wait. Are these things that I actually posted, or you're just asking me to assign them nicknames?
So there was a post you made where someone gave you guys nicknames on these walkie-talkies. Or there's like,
Oh,
do you know what I'm talking about now? And it was like Titty.
oh, so Titty would have been Christian.
Yep.
Um, So that's kind of tough because if it was walkie-talkies, that means there was crew involved too. Unless it was our in-ear packs.
Well, there's only
Ass
one left, so I think you're left with yourself. I think you're ass face by default.
Oh, maybe so.
Do you
I would
remember
have
the
to
post?
I would have to see the picture.
I got it right here, dude.
Okay, so yeah, those are our in-ear packs. So
Those were your guys's?
yeah, but
That's
they also
funny.
could have been our crews again, but I don't know. They might have been a mixture. That may have just been all the funny ones that our tour manager or front of house guy did.
That
But
is awesome.
if there's one that says titty, that's definitely Christian.
It does. There is one. And literally, that's what inspired this whole thing. I was like, I usually do like song titles and pull random questions from lyrics, but I saw that post and I saw the word titty, and titty inspired me so much. So I'm like, we're going with Instagram for this one.
Oh yeah. No, we I don't even know where that nickname came from, but we have called Christian Titty as long as he's been in the band that I can remember. I don't know why or why it's just been one of his nicknames. And if you ask any of us, everybody has multiple nicknames in the band. You can't travel with a group of people as long as we have and know each other as well as we have and not pick up a few nicknames along the way.
Oh, for
So
sure. You posted a picture of Christian's ass in white jeans. The public wants to know, Deon, when will we see yours in white jeans?
well, that would require me having an ass. If my wife was here, she would tell you that my biggest trait is that I have no ass. So you might as well, if you just looked at a pair of jeans hanging up on a hanger, just flat, that's what my ass looks like in jeans.
We'll take note of that. We'll take note of that. If in 2014 you were already successful, but you wore a shirt that says world's okayest bassist, what are you today?
It's just gonna say I got worse.
That is genius. All right. So whoever does your fucking merch, take notes. I like that. That's awesome. In honor of Betty, who according to you turned 6 in 2014, I'm going to name an instrument and I want you to give me the most random name that you can name it. Do you know what I'm
Uh,
talking about, by the way?
My bass, yeah, Betty, my
Uh-huh.
Jaguar. Yeah,
Yes.
our guitar tech sang he would label all the guitars so that he would know when we would write down what guitar we were going to use for each song and everything, he would know. So he just started giving them nicknames, and one of the nicknames he gave my bass was Betty. I don't know why. He just named it Betty. So it's just been Betty since 2008.
Well, I mean, look at that. From 2008, now it's 2024, and it's inspired these questions. So Betty is an icon in this conversation. Are you ready?
Let's go.
Alrighty. Drums,
The drums would be Dave.
guitar,
Let's go with Silly.
flute,
Jethro.
harp,
Beer.
saxophone,
Saxophone.
Lastly, piano.
Brody.
All right. That's amazing. So if your daughters ever pick up any of these instruments, we've got names for them now.
Yep. Go practice your Brody.
Exactly. The last thing I want to do with you, Dion, is first of all, thank you for giving me your time. I know it's later on in the evening and I appreciate it so much. And my goal is always for listeners to be able to get to know you a little bit better. And I think we did just that. I think they're going to get to know you and how your choreography radar is so good. So the last thing I want to do with you is if years from now your girls are old enough to do a deep dive on their badass dad, can you leave them a little something here?
It's very cliche to say, believe in yourself and work hard. But if there's something you want to do, if you don't believe that you can do it, and you don't work hard at it, then you're never going to do it. As I mentioned before, with this kind of new era that we're going into, our mantra just became, let's try it. If you don't believe in yourself and you don't work hard, you don't ever try, I don't see how you're going to get what you want in life or how you're going to be able to do what you want in life. I think that just doing what someone else tells you should do with your life is incredibly boring. Doing what makes you happy doesn't have to be something that makes you money. Doing what makes you happy doesn't even have to be your main job. You can work a job that you hate, but if you have time in your life to do what makes you happy, it makes those things that you don't enjoy more bearable. If you enjoy something, believe in yourself and work hard and dive into it. That's why I'm here. That's why after all these years, all the times that I skipped high school to go play shows and left on cross country trips, I was working hard and I believed that this was something that I could do. And I got to say, I think apart from the hard work and the love of what I do, I'm just lucky that other people enjoyed what I was doing as well. This isn't necessarily one piece of wisdom. This is just me explaining, I think, what the core of what I do. And I really encourage at the age they're at now, if you enjoy something, if someone thinks you're weird for enjoying that, who cares? If it's something that brings you joy, enjoy it. Don't worry about what your classmates think. Don't worry about what your coworkers think. Don't worry about what your friends think. I mean, by all definitions and standards, I would be considered a total nerd. I grew up listening to music that no one listened to. I grew up reading comic books. I grew up drawing. I grew up, just watching movies that other people thought were stupid. I like to think that at the end of the day, I've always been my own person. It's something that I continually maybe learn or am reminded of, even at this age, that I'm happiest when I'm being myself and I'm happiest when I'm being true with who I am. I've had more problems in my life when I've tried to be something that I'm not. And I've tried to act a certain way because I thought that's the way that somebody wanted me to act. I hope that as they grow up and anybody that hears this, no matter what age they are, the truth that you tell yourself and the truth that you live is what's going to make you happy. That's what, like 10 pieces of wisdom I'm trying to drop right now. But yeah, I mean, starting at a young age, I feel like I knew what I wanted to do and I worked really hard and I dove into it and I lived what I wanted to do. And I felt like that was me being true to myself. And I had to not care what people thought because after a certain point, I had to walk out onto a stage in front of 10 people, 100 people, 1,000 people, 10,000 people. And, I once had someone ask me, how do you go out and play in front of that many people? There was that picture we posted from years ago. We played this huge festival in Australia, and I think we must have been playing in front of 15 or 20,000 people. And I basically said, you just kind of have to do it because what are you going to do? Not do it? You know what I mean? Like, what are you going to do? Like, leave everybody hanging? You're just going to like say, nope, can't go out on stage, So, I think I have to believe in myself every time we walk out on stage, and I have to believe that what I'm going to do is going to be good. The reason at this point it's so easy for me to believe in that is because I've worked so hard to get where I am, and I've stayed true to myself and everything that I've done. And I feel like that I'm going out there as an authentic person that enjoys what they do, and that people are going to see that in me every time on that stage. I think that's just a good way to live life in general. I've never wanted to be a person that someone, when they get to know me, they go, huh, that's not what I thought you would be like, or that's not what, you portray yourself as in this setting. And you know what? And honestly, in all times, it gets me in trouble, I think, because I am just myself all the time. And maybe that's not always appropriate for all situations. And, then that's where, social tact comes into play. You learn as you get older, like how to just, when to do whatever. It's like, I'm not just talking about whether or not you wear a tuxedo or a tuxedo shirt to a wedding. I'm just saying, as far as just being a person, I like to think that when people meet me, they meet me every time. You know what I mean? They're not meeting a false pretense. They're not meeting the person that I think that they want to be. I just, whether it be a stranger, whether it be, interacting with fans or anything, I think that's a good way to live life. I'm rambling at this point, so you can stop me at any time, but
No, I love this, Deon, because your daughters and what they're getting to see now, they're seeing what it truly means to take a leap of faith, fucking stick to it, and do it gracefully with an open mind and being resilient. These are things you cannot teach to people. And the idea that you are now a father, being the perfect demonstrating figure of what these things are, is truly like the best gift you could ever even give them without them even knowing it's a gift now because they're so young. You actually made a full circle moment for me, and I thought it was so awesome. We talked about these full circle moments that you've had, with your dad and with music. And something you talked about earlier today was about how that almost became kind of like a motto in the band was to just try it, just go
Mhm.
for it. And here you are leaving a message to your daughters. And part of that message is also to just go after it, just go do it. You said it perfectly with what are you going to do when the 10,000 people intimidate you? Well, you're not going to leave them hanging. You're going to just go out there and do it. And I think that that is the beauty of these conversations is that they naturally have this full circle moment. And to me, I'm like covered in goosebumps because I do know that because of the impact you're having on not just so many fans and so many people, but also on your own children, they are going to one day Google their dad when they're old enough. And hopefully this comes out there and they'll come across it and they'll hear it and they'll hear it from you.
Absolutely, yeah. It's something you have to begin to think about it when you become a parent is, the example you're leaving your children and the way you're living your life and everything. And my oldest daughter one day came home from school and said, so and so thinks I'm weird. And I said, who cares? I don't care. I was like, how many times people have thought I have said that I'm weird or like, had something to say about me or something I'm doing. It doesn't matter. Like, who cares?
And for someone who's weird or who thinks picking up an instrument or being in a band, you said this earlier today, it's a little hobby. It looks so fucking good, Dion. It looks good. This is what it looks like. So
Well, I enjoy it, so I'm glad. Based on what I said, even if I looked like an idiot, I would still do it. So
Absolutely. Well, listen, all I know is we can all pray and hope that our little hobbies or being a nerd could look as good as you, Dion. So
thank you.
no, thank you so much, Dion. This has been so much fun. It's also been so refreshing because I got to shoot the shit with you. And before I do these calls, you're human too. You could have had the shittiest day today and not wanted to talk about anything about Instagram or your ass in white jeans. So I appreciate you so much
Or lack
for
thereof.
or lack thereof, exactly. So I appreciate you and I appreciate the energy, the vibe. I can feel it all the way through this screen. So thank you so much for your time, Dion.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yes, of course. I'll definitely be in touch and I'll let you know when it airs and all that good stuff so that we can scare your wife into thinking you're giving the girls a haircut. So
I'm just gonna go in there with like plastic fake scissors tonight and just see what happens.
set up the camera, record it, let me know if you do, and show me, okay?
There we go.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Dion. Have a great rest
Yeah.
of your day, okay?
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thanks, you as well.
Bye.
Bye. Hey, if you've made it this far, don't forget to follow the socials on the screen or in the description below. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel. See you next week.